How you get to where you are in life is a direct correlation to the choices that you make.
Why do we go to the negative rather than the positive then? Like, why do we keep stacking up things to like hold ourselves back rather than to build ourselves up?
Knowledge isn't power. It's about what you do with what you know.
For a lot of us, we've actually got so many solutions at our fingertips, but we are just waiting for someone to come and do it for us.
Retraining the brain is not a complex thing. It's incredibly simple. Simple and easy are not the same thing.
Sarah, what is the most common thing that you help people with?
I help people really transform their mindset and unlock their potential.
Wicked. Okay, and how do you go about doing that?
Well, the first part I go about doing that is really helping them understand their subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than our conscious mind, and so many people don't know how to work with their subconscious or don't actually know what it's all about. And it's a really powerful thing. And so for me, it's really about helping people unlock the subconscious. I'm sure you know a little bit about it, yeah?
Not as much as you. So for those who don't, like, could you give us an example to help demonstrate the difference between the subconscious and the conscious so that they can kind of place themselves in this and go, oh, okay, this makes some sense?
Yeah, so subconscious is everything outside of your field of awareness, and it's got a couple of key main functions. So subconscious mind stores all your memories, it stores all your emotions, and think about from a kid. When we were kids, we've always been programmed, and all of our habits, all of our patterns are stored there. One of the main functions of the subconscious mind is safety. And so our subconscious is always working to keep us safe. And for people who experience anxiety, overthinking, sense of control, it's usually all related back to our safety function. We are an animal species, right? We're here to survive, and our subconscious mind is always working to keep us alive.
So do you think people are kind of rolling around just without even realising, just constantly looking for danger?
All the time.
Yeah.
And there are so many people operating on autopilot, and they don't even realise that they're operating on autopilot, rinse and repeating the same habits over and over again, and then wanting something to change. But to create change, you really need to be able to unlock the subconscious and create that level of awareness. Yeah. One of the quotes that I love at the moment is really around, you can't see the label when you're in the jar. And great quote, right? It's like so many people operating in the jar and bumping up against that glass wall and then wondering why there's no change. Like, to create change, you've got to be able to zoom out and be able to see things from a different light.
Yeah. So people come to you for help. What are they normally like saying to you that brings them to you to go, okay, Sarah, like, help me now?
Yeah. Good question. Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, overthinking, anxiety.
Shit, I need to write this down. Hold on. Self-doubt, imposter, anxiety.
Anxiety, overthinking, not feeling good enough, confidence. You know, a lot of high performers especially have these limiting beliefs about themselves, and they've held them for a long time. So they come to me because they've got that block and they want someone to help unblock and create that next level.
Isn't it interesting that high performers do this? Because I reckon people would assume that non or low performers would do it, and that's then why they're not getting further ahead. But it's no different for everybody. Even when you do start doing well, you get to your own ceiling, right?
Totally. Every new level brings a new devil, as they say. And I've had those ceilings definitely, and I'm sure you have too. And then it requires you to zoom out of that jar and go, hey, what's actually going on here? It's all happening in our internal world and from our subconscious programming.
Okay, so let's touch on one of those and let's go to limiting beliefs. So what's a common thing that people come to you and they effectively can't see that it's a limiting belief that you see all the time?
Oh, so many limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. I've had many of these within my own life, so I kind of had to understand how to work through it myself before I could help other people break through those limiting beliefs. And they're super common, and until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. You may have heard of that quote before, but ultimately you need to create that level of awareness of yourself before you can even begin to unpack those limiting beliefs.
Okay, so where did your awareness journey start?
Oh, wow. For me, do you want to know about the journey of how we're here, or what would you like me to go into delve into that a little bit more?
Let's do that so people
Yeah.
have got a bit of a context of, how you've ended up here.
Yeah, so back in 2012, I was a university student down in Otago, classic Scarfy, and was lying in bed one day and I received a phone call from my mum. I could hear the panic in my mum's voice. She had rung to tell me that my dad had fallen off a balcony up in the Marlborough Sounds and that he had died. Now, as a young girl, you kind of get a lot of shock after that, and I went obviously back to Christchurch, and I went back down to Dunedin as a student a couple of weeks later, and I did what a lot of people do. I suppressed the pain, suppressed the grief, drank a lot, smoked a lot, and then I started to project that grief and pain out onto people. And what made my dad's death really complex is that we had a really challenging relationship, and so when someone dies, it's challenging, but when you have a relationship with the person that you're actually not on good terms, it brings a whole lot more complexity. After Dad died, I came up here to Auckland and I started on my personal development journey, and that's really where I started to create this level of awareness, and I started to unpack the weight of Dad's death and the trauma of being a kid, and started to look at limiting beliefs, and then life kind of started getting back on track. OE time, like many of us, and I was lying on a beach over in Colombia, and I received another phone call. This time it was from my brother, and he had rung to tell me that Mum had had a brain aneurysm and that I needed to get back to New Zealand as fast as possible. And I got back, Mum was still alive, but things weren't looking great. And to make a painful story short, we had a few days in ICU with Mum until they told us that she had less than 10% brain functioning left and that she wasn't going to survive. So at 26, I had 2 dead parents. I had so much grief, pain, and unpacked trauma. And so that was really where my journey into kind of personal development, mindset, subconscious mind started. And then, when you're faced with that level of grief and trauma as a young person, you got to start asking yourself those bigger questions. And then obviously there was a lot of stuff that came around with the inheritance and money, and just how I dealt with all of that over the last 6 years has been a real journey.
Yeah, wow. How long between your father passing and your mother passing? You may have said
6 years.
6 years, okay, yeah. In that 6 years, had you started to flip your mind into trying to see things happening for you rather than against you and to you?
100%.
Yeah.
And so that personal development journey after Dad died, I was right in that really letting go and starting to do that deeper inner work that a lot of people do. And then after Mum died, I found myself in some really challenging positions, but I ultimately kept having this thought in my head right from the get-go, like, if both of my parents have died this young, like, I've got to do something with this. I can't just be the victim of this for the rest of my life and project this out. Like, I've got to be able to take this and actually do something good with it. And that's what the last 6 years for me has been all about, is how do you turn your life around?
Was there a moment, like specifically, that you can point to where you decided not to be a victim, to use that terminology, and then instead be a victor and go, like, I need to go down this path? Because it sounds like your pain was showing up then in anger and probably doing shit that was, working against you and stuff you end up regretting. We've all been there.
Totally.
But where you went, like, no more of this path.
Yeah, there was. And it was a really pivotal day for me. I hired a coach about 18 months after my mum died, and we had this one session this one day. And she said something to me that truly changed the trajectory of my life. And she said, Sarah, you realise what you're not changing, you're ultimately choosing. And in that moment, I really I had that horrible feeling, and I knew what she said had so much power. And then I went home and I kept thinking about what she had said. What you're not changing, you're choosing. What you're not changing, you're choosing. And then I had that light bulb moment. And it was from that day forward that I decided that I was no longer going to be the victim of both my parents dying, that I was going to choose healing over suffering, and I was going to choose to let the experience make me instead of break me. And really, people need to understand, like, how you get to where you are in life is a direct correlation to the choices that you make.
Yeah. Sheesh. Not everybody wants to hear that.
No, it's super confronting. And also, you are the creator of your own reality.
Yeah, I've dug out some of my old content and I was banging on about how you're the sum of all of the choices that you've made before today.
100%.
Yeah. But I think people, they don't actually believe in this shit, you know? They are like, no, you're oversimplifying it. It's not like that. You don't understand. I've had this happen to me, etc. And I'm sure we touched on the Dave Neathie podcast, but he would say, well, fuck off in your own suffering or whatever, but choosing your own victim story. But do you get blowback from people that are come across you or your content, or when you go and speak and it's basically, no, that's not actually how it is. Like, you don't understand for me. Do you still see a lot of that?
I do see a lot of that, not directed straight at me. Often people who are playing the victim, Luke, don't even realise they're playing the victim because they're so unaware of their patterns and they're so stuck in their narrative or their story. And, it is a process. It's not like one day. Like, it didn't just happen overnight for me. It did take a bit of time for me to unpack this and still know that just because I'm crying or experiencing the pain of grief doesn't also mean I'm the victim. Being a victim, you can still experience your emotion, without that story. It has been a big journey starting to learn that. But life is all about the choices that you make. And, if you want a different outcome, make a different choice.
Nice. And I guess that goes back to the start where you've then got to have that conscious awareness. Yeah. And was it the coach for you that probably disrupted some of these patterns for you to see, there is another way to live or to look at this?
Yeah. And it was really starting to understand. I actually went to Australia for a lot of my coaching because we are quite far behind in New Zealand, as you probably already know. And that's where I really started to understand, wow, like I can change my life. And I took back my power and I took back, blaming other people. I see so many people looking for somebody else to save them. And the person you should save is yourself. No one's coming to save you. The government's not going to save you. No one's going to save you. You've got to really take back your own power and start realizing that the choices you make will put you directly on the path wherever you want to go.
I was reflecting on this concept this morning where I wonder if election cycles were a lot longer, or the media didn't do as much content with politicians, whether we would then be less expecting of the government to solve our shit or to do things for us. I get the sense that we live in a country where we are so expectant of somebody like the government or our employer to solve things for us, when actually for a lot of us, like not for everybody, but for a lot of us, we've actually got so many solutions at our fingertips, but we are just waiting for someone to come and do it for us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I want people to know that you've got to really take the power back. Like, even it's a confronting conversation, even around the mental health stuff. We have diminished counsellors because everyone thinks it should be free. And it's like, yeah, but I can get it for free. And sometimes that takes away the value of really what people can do. So, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, people who don't pay attention, right?
Yeah.
One of my goals is to help 100,000 Kiwis improve their financial literacy and in turn help create a better New Zealand. Generate has a very similar goal to educate and empower Kiwis to make smart KiwiSaver decisions so more of us can be better off at retirement. That's why I'm stoked to have them on board as sponsors. Together, we can reach more people and make this goal a reality. If you've never got KiwiSaver advice before, book a no obligation chat with a Generate advisor at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change. They'll even put you in the draw to win 5K worth of vouchers just for having a chat, whether or not you decide to sign up. T's and C's on that webpage. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you something about your dad, and feel free to swerve this if this is too deep, but I feel like it could help some people. You've gone through this. You've lost somebody that I'm picking up. You would, if you had your time again, you would probably like the relationship to be different before they pass. Somebody's listening to this and they need to sort out a relationship in their life, or they need somebody to encourage them to actually have a conversation before it could be late, what would you tell them?
Yeah. The first thing is that you can still solve the relationship with that person even if they've passed. And so for me, the relationship that I have with my dad now is resolved. And so it's resolved within me, which is so cool. Like, I no longer carry that regret or that resentment or the hurt that he created as a kid. So just because they've passed doesn't mean that you can't do the healing work around and really forgive that relationship. I personally don't know if I would have had the opportunity to resolve that with him in this life. He was an alcoholic and a pretty extreme one at that. However, if somebody is listening to this, it really is all based around your communication and being able to have those hard conversations. You know, hurt people. And I don't know if you've heard of the concept of perception as projection, which essentially means in life that everything is a mirror of our internal world. And so for my dad, like, he obviously had a lot of things going on in his life that were coming out. He had no coping strategies, no skills, and his only skill or strategy that he had was to drink. And so as I started to zoom out and started to understand this, I could forgive him for his actions and his behaviour, because I started to see that it was just the hurt little boy in him who was coming out in his adult life. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it is for those people who are wanting to do that healing work. It's all about creating that awareness of yourself and starting to understand that their behaviour is not a reflection of you, and it's something that is projecting out from their subconscious wiring.
Yeah, I think sometimes someone once said to me, a good way to think about it is that, you know, you might have wanted more from somebody in your life, but sometimes the more is understanding that they did the best with the tools that they had.
100%.
Yeah, and then we get to learn more tools, and then we think, well, why didn't they just do that?
Yeah.
But they didn't have these tools, and that's why we look at it from a different lens.
One of the key things that you've said about that is exactly everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have available at any given time. I would not be where I am today without that hurt and without that pain as a kid, and it really has been the driving force to create change. And on that emotion of anger and frustration, it's like all anger means is that we want something to be different to how it currently is. And so when you're angry, you've got to ask yourself, what is it that I want to be different? What's happening in life, Luke, is so many people are taking that anger and projecting it outwards. Actually, anger is the most potent emotion that we have. And when you know how to take that, it's the gateway for change. Think of Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King. They didn't come from a place of sadness. They came from anger. The difference being that they knew how to channel that anger and do something with it. So it's really about learning how to channel it in the right direction, and that's really what I've done after my parents' death, is take that potent energy and actually do something with it.
Well, on that then, so those who are angry or get frustrated, etc., and they know sometimes they can, you know, go down the wrong path, what's a good way for them to think about using that more positively?
Yeah, you've firstly got to create the awareness and ask yourself, you know, what is it that I want to be different? Then you'll get an answer. And the next thing that I love speaking into a little bit is that the quality of your life is directly correlated to your questions. And so when both your parents die, you've got to start asking yourself the bigger questions. And if you want to start peeling back the layers and doing the work on yourself, you've got to start learning how to ask yourself the deeper, bigger questions, because within the question lies the answer. And so that's really what I started doing on my journey, is asking myself the harder questions. My coach kept asking me questions that would peel back the layer, because, you know, questions are the answer.
How come so many of us want to avoid doing the deep work, do you think? Is it that it's confronting, or what have you observed?
Yeah, it's confronting. It's easier not to. It's easier to stay in victimhood.
Yeah.
It's easy to blame someone else. It takes a lot of courage to look at your wounds and to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself those questions.
What was it for you that you decided, fuck easy, I'm going to go down the hard path and figure all this shit out?
Well, it wasn't always. I did fall into victimhood, I'm not going to lie. I did.
I think we all do.
Yeah. And I want people to know that it's okay to be there for a period of time. It's just about having the ability to realise that it's not serving you. And if you spend long periods of time there, you're going to find yourself in an even darker place. For me, as I said before, I really knew that both your parents dying at 26 is rare, and I knew that I had to do something. It was like, I know people speak about it, it was almost like that cooling vibe of like, there's something in this for me. My parents died for a reason. I truly believe that they died so that I could do this work that I do now.
This again, tough question, but you lose both of your parents and you lose them early. What do people need to understand about life without your parents in it?
Big question. It's extremely challenging. Like, I'm 6 years on since my mum died, and I still have moments of, yesterday I finished a keynote, quite a big one, and got back to the hotel room and like just wanted to pick up the phone and be like, Mum, that was so awesome. It is incredibly challenging in terms of you lose your safety net, you lose your sense of self, you lose your identity, and you have to recreate that from the ground up. And so for me, it was really a journey of recreating who I wanted to be. The thing is that everything in life is temporary, and if you think that you're exempt from grief or pain or death, like, you're fooling yourself. Like, you're going to go through it. And one of the things that really helped me in the early days was understanding the power of presence. I was walking around Hagley Park in Christchurch. That's how I came back from Colombia, no job, deep in the hole. And I just started to look around. It was springtime, and I would sit on the bench and I would just observe nature, I would observe the flowers, I would look at the clouds, and I would do this every single day. And I started to realize, we are nature. Nature is not something separate from us. Everything lives and everything dies. And as I started to really be present with my life, I started to realize, like, all we have is the present moment. And so many people are focused on the future, worrying, overthinking, what ifs. Like, live for now. It's all you really have. You're going to die. Everyone's going to die.
It's funny when you come to peace with that, but that saying, you're going to die, it can be such a good pattern disruptor to think about things differently, right?
Yeah. Life is truly a gift, and people are consumed by what hasn't happened yet, or what's going to happen in the future, or stuff that's completely outside of their control. They're living so much in their minds that they're missing the whole point.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I saw yesterday that on your socials, after your big day, you might have seen your mum and your dad, or had them a reminder in your life. Talk us through that.
Yeah, signs. They're everywhere. You have to have the ability to tune in. And I mean, everyone's got their own beliefs after when people die, and I'm not here to, talk super spiritual today. It is important. It was important for me to understand that I could reconnect with them in my own way, and I do. I came off the airport in Hamilton, picked up the car, Dad's funeral song came on, I was like, okay. And then I parked up the car, 2 butterflies landed on the window screen, and it was just one of those moments that's so serendipitous. And it was just one of those feel-goods of like, they're here, they're around, I have them often. Whether you want to believe in it or not, I do. A lot of people do. And
you take comfort from that.
I take great comfort from that. Yeah. And whether you think it's woo-woo or not, I have conversations with my mum every day.
Yeah.
And it's brought me a lot of healing. Yeah. I truly do believe in the afterlife.
Well, people pray, you know,
of course.
and that's kind of the same type of thing, right? So I think when it's, people are so quick to find people as being delusional as soon as there's death involved in it.
Yeah.
But, when I get on the motorway and I see Auckland City and there's not a cloud in the sky, instantly my brain is like, what a fucking beautiful city. And I just think, wow, that's amazing. And all of the economic data at the moment and shit is like the other way, and people are like, Auckland's struggling and whatnot, but my brain just tells me, look at that, that's amazing. And I think that comes partly from like choosing to plant reminders myself, and even I did some content recently where I was at the gym and I put my phone down next to me, and then when I went to get my phone, there was a 10-cent coin there. And I just started smiling and was like, money's attracted to me.
Of course.
And just things that I've decided, instead of having a negative relationship with something, okay, let's make it positive. Do you have any specific exercises where people can like flip some of these things, or like that as an example? I took negative things about money and was like, let's just make them positive.
Yeah, totally. One of the things that I speak a lot into is, for some people, especially in the dark places that they are, going from negative to positive can be quite a challenge. And one of the things that I help women and help lots of people is first find neutrality. And so I lived in neutrality for about 18 months on my healing journey. I was not negative, I wasn't positive. I was just aware, I was learning, I was growing. And so sometimes, there's that toxic positivity, which some people find going from I'm not good enough to I'm good enough is a really big jump for some. And so working towards neutral can be a really great way to begin with. And then once you're in neutral, then start working those pathways in the brain. As you know, our brain is always training, it's always firing, and then start working towards the positive. That's what I did, and it worked really well for me.
So would that look like, instead of choosing to be like angry or happy, if something happens to you, say like, someone cutting you off in the motorway, you then see it as like, oh, that just happened.
Yeah,
that's all that it was.
And it just is.
Yeah. And rather than like, so better pull the fingers, etc. I'm going to get up there, and you're like into that anger mode. Yeah. You're right. Just, it is what it is. Just watch it.
Yeah, and just let it be neutral.
Do you think that comes from the presence? So like you practice the presence piece, so then you can unwind some of this anger and negativity and stuff that hurts us and go, I'm just present in this. I saw like this just happened.
It is what it is, as you said before. So it's a really powerful place to be, is working towards neutrality rather than having to flip. I can flip easily from negative to positive now, but I've trained my brain, as have you. And for those who are just starting on their journey, going from negative to positive is actually quite a big jump. So work to neutrality, get to neutrality, and then start working to positive.
Okay, so it sounds like you've done your own healing and had coaching, and then you've decided to go even further down this path. What is in this space for you that you decided, okay, not only am I going to do my own work, that you want to help more people do the work themselves?
Yeah, you've got to heal yourself before you can help anyone else. And I spent a long time working on myself, and it's not over. The journey is never over, and it's a lifelong journey. So I don't think anyone's ever healed or finished the work. It's a constant journey. For me, it's really about being able to give back some of the gold that I've learned on my journey. Most of my clients who are attracted to the work I do is that I coach from a really authentic place. I don't work by the textbook. I have got a degree in psychology, but a lot of the work I've done has come from my own personal experience. Nice. And sometimes in New Zealand, I think that we are so quick to need the next tick in the box, when really a lot of great things happen from your lived experience. Yeah, I agree. I feel like we're going into more of a world of that too, where all the information's available. Totally.
I can get a ChatGPT psychologist at my fingertips now, but I think people are going to turn to people who have done stuff and who have experience and go, okay, I need to hear it from a human.
100%. And one of my philosophies as both a coach and a speaker is integration over information. It doesn't matter what you know in life. It's about what you do with what you know. And knowledge isn't power. It's the application of it. Didn't matter how much I thought about healing. I wasn't going to heal by thinking about it.
Yeah.
You have to have the ability to be able to take that knowledge and to be able to do something with it. And that's really where I specialize in what I do, is how do you actually do the doing?
Yeah.
Because knowledge means actually jack.
Yeah, I think sometimes that if I was to go back to uni, I would have studied psychology to try and learn how to teach business owners how to do the doing. So not only is this what we need to learn about, but now we need to actually go away and do it. But I think, again, like that's a never-ending rabbit hole, because trying to get people to do things, they're not always going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, when you get the clients who do the work, the results are incredible. And again, it comes back to that conversation we're having about choice. If you don't want to do the work, you're not going to see the change. Nothing changes. But if you're going to take those actions, it's inevitable. And lots of people think that change is these big steps. It's not. Have you heard of the quote before, small hinges swing big doors? And it's exactly it, right? It's all the micro things. They all stack up.
Yeah.
I didn't get to here overnight. It was all the little things that I've done over the last 4 or 5 years that has got me where I am today.
So at the moment, you've got probably close to 70,000 Instagram followers, I think.
80, yeah.
Oh, 80, sorry guys.
It was going up quick there for a while. But
another 10 there. What would the split of those be, New Zealand versus international?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've got a lot of US, UK, Australia, and then New Zealand as well. It's been a real journey with that in terms of learning business in New Zealand and Australia, and in the last 6 months being able to open up into the US and into the UK, and late nights, early mornings, figuring out how to work the time zones with new clientele, which has been really, really exciting. The US is really far, advanced in this space. This isn't news to them. Coaching isn't new to them. And so it's really nice to sometimes be able to speak to them, and they already know what a coach is and what you do. Whereas in New Zealand, a lot of the people who come into my programs, they've never even heard of what we're talking about today.
They've probably got that skepticism that, I don't know about this, is it legit?
Yeah,
we are just so far behind, eh? But what do you think it would be, like New Zealand versus international, like a 80-20, international?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. But the cool thing is that then you've got the ability to export, you've got the ability to sell in US dollars, etc., and change your own paradigm of what's possible in business, right?
100%.
Yeah. So you've been jetting around the country and doing all sorts of speaking as well. What does a typical week look like for you now?
Oh, well, it's changed a lot over the last 6 months. I have been doing a lot of keynotes for businesses and corporates, and really speaking on some of the things we're speaking about today, helping them integrate. How do we take some of these tools and actually apply them? As I said before, businesses know a lot of this. They don't actually know how to put it into practice with their employees.
Yeah.
So this week I've been doing a lot of that. And then a typical week I run group coaching programs where women will come on and they'll really get that personalised support and being able to put these things into practice in their everyday life. Traditionally, the work that I do is done through the traditional counselling therapy lens. The people and women who come into my programs, being able to heal in a space or do the work amongst other people has its own power as well, because you get that community vibe.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got like group coaching, keynotes, and then are you doing some like one-on-one stuff as well? Or is that too hard?
Yeah,
too scaled
a
down?
little bit of one-on-one, not as much as I used to.
Yeah. Do you find are Kiwi people, this is a selfish question, do they want to do the work in group, or Kiwi still like, I'd rather do it one-on-one?
Oh yeah, they'd rather do it one-on-one. The US, they're all in for the ride of everyone else, and they love that. And the Kiwis and Australians who come into the group coaching program, their biggest resistance is, I don't want to be with other people. Then they finish the program and I'm like, what was the best thing about the program? It was being with everyone.
Is that the Kiwi way of like, someone might know me, or it's a small country, or because someone jokingly said to me ages ago, they were like, fuck, good luck doing like group stuff in New Zealand with what you're doing, mate. Like people will just want to do it with you one-on-one. And I was like, is that a limiting belief that I'm going to grab onto, or is it like they had data? And I'm like, it's probably data. But yeah, interested on your insight there. What do you think it is that stops Kiwi people?
It's the mindset where we've been closed off to, vulnerability. We've been closed off to holding everything inside. And really, though, everyone is on their own journey. Everyone's got their own shit that they're working through. You're not alone. So many people experience the same things. I see the same thing come in my door all the time.
Yeah, I bet.
And then when they realise they're in a group with other people who have got the same thing, they sit there and go, wow, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So there's real power in that as well.
Yeah. So you're mostly focusing on women with your coaching? Yeah.
I do. I've worked with a lot of farmers. I love working with farmers. I've worked with a lot of men.
Yeah.
And the group coaching program that I've got at the moment is women, but I do work a lot with men as well.
Okay, well, we'll touch on men in a second, but with women specifically, what do they tell themselves, or often tell themselves, that holds them back?
Oh, what don't they tell
Really?
themselves? I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not confident enough, I don't have enough qualifications, I'm not worthy, I've got imposter syndrome. The list goes on.
Yeah, and
I'm an overthinker.
Why is that, do you think? Is it the constant like scrolling and shit these days where we're comparing ourselves, or
Programming of the subconscious.
Yeah.
We've been programming ourselves since we were born.
Never
and
have
now that we've wired the brain that way, we get to a certain age and then we don't know how to break it. Because and then you'll repeat in life what you don't repair. Have you heard that before? You'll repeat what you don't repair. And so lots of people don't know the how. They know they've got awareness that they've got a challenge or a struggle, but they don't know how to change it. And that's where I specialise, is the how.
Yeah. Do you see like people have been told something early in their life and then they are like they've just taken that as gospel, and you've got to almost go, that ain't even the truth?
Oh, well, 100%. For me, at 5 was when I picked up the I'm not smart enough, because I went to reading recovery, and then I believed it for 20 years. Every time I got a spelling mistake, every time I couldn't pronounce a word properly, see, Sarah, you're not smart enough. We're always stacking evidence to support our narrative through the reticular activating system, which you may know a wee bit about, is like what you focus on in life expands. You will always find evidence to support your story or to support your narrative. And so you're always stacking up the evidence to support whatever you believe.
Why do we go to the negative rather than the positive then? Like, why do we keep stacking up things to like hold ourselves back rather than to build ourselves up? Because if you do too much of that too, people are like, oh, you're a narcissist, oh, you're over your skis, you're too confident or whatever, and then we're, oh, better go the other way again.
It was back to one of the main functions of the subconscious of survival and safety. We are always looking for threats because we are here to survive. We're an animal species, so it's why we're negatively biased. We have 1 positive thoughts to 3 negative thoughts, typically. So, everybody is always looking. If they don't know how to master the mind's going to master them. And that's why learning about your subconscious, learning about your programming and your brain is where your power lies. Until you know how to master the mind, it'll master you.
So then if we swap over to blokes, like what's the thing that they often have that holds them back? Is it the same things, or is there anything you can point to that's different?
Similar in their own version of it. Still, a lot of males don't feel good enough and don't feel worthy. A lot of men's struggles that I've worked around is having to toughen up, not being able to communicate because they don't know how. That typical New Zealand attitude of like keep on keeping on, and you can only keep on keeping on until you get so far. And then what? And so they find themselves in this really challenging position. And one of the things I've found coaching males is that I've grown up with brothers and I've got quite a masculine energy myself, so I just break straight through. There's no fluff. I just direct with them, and that usually lands because they don't want the fluff.
Nah. Yeah, I relate to that. So tell me the answer.
Tell me how I get from here to here. Can you show me how? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Rather than we don't always have to go into the, deep stuff. We can move in different ways that is not always having to sit down and talk about your emotions for an hour.
Yeah, interesting. I think blokes tend to go straight to the solution, right? Or speaking to my old school rector, and he was saying that the best punishment for a young lad is to call them in on a Friday and then tell them that you haven't actually decided what the punishment is, but they've got to come back on Monday and I'll tell you. And then on Monday, you basically say, oh, actually, we've thought about it and it's all good. But it's like the weekend is the punishment because the lad just wants to know, give me, what's my fate?
100%.
Yeah.
They want to fix everything.
Yeah.
And they want to solve the problem. And, a lot of times in life, we can't fix grief. We can't fix death. And so having to learn about that as a male can be really powerful because a lot of times males don't know how to work with their emotions or they don't know how to communicate with their partner.
Yeah, I think once a female person in this sort of space was like to me, why are you always trying to fix everything, Luke? And I'm like, why not? I'm like, what do you mean? But again, it was like, I was like, oh, isn't that what you do? Like, aren't we supposed to solve everything? They're like, you can't. I'm like, oh, shit.
Sometimes things just are.
Yeah.
And you just got to surrender and let them be.
Yeah, so maybe a good one for the lads that are listening. You can't fix everything. You can't fix everyone.
Yeah.
But start by at least sorting out yourself.
100%. And my partner, we've been together a long time, and after your parents die, he just wanted to fix everything, and you can't fix that. And so I really had to help him understand, like, all I need you to do is just be and nurture, and sometimes that can be challenging for males because they just want to take away your pain and they can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just reflecting on a conversation with my partner, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. I want to touch on imposter syndrome because that's something that maybe I think has just become fashionable to talk about. So then people grab onto it. A, what is that? And B, how can we reshape our thinking about it?
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is having those thoughts around, I'm a fraud, or am I supposed to be here? And it's really that self-doubt within you don't feel like you're good enough to be where you are. And I've definitely had those thoughts in my time, and most high performers do. It's not necessarily getting rid of the thoughts, it's actually having the awareness of the thoughts. We are the observer of ourselves. And so what happens, though, is so many people attach themselves to the thought, and then they let that thought go down the spirals, and then they create the meaning or the narrative. The power comes when you just sit up in the observation deck, and does that make sense? Like you're above your thoughts and you just let them flow in and flow out. So imposter syndrome is a really popular term that a lot of people are talking about. The problem with imposter syndrome is when you start thinking that you are your thoughts. You're not your thoughts.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned that has really helped me is that if you stick to your circle of competence and experience and skill set, then you can ignore a lot of the thoughts that try and creep into that, because you go, say someone says to me, Luke, can you please come and speak to 500 people about how you built Keep the Change? Yeah, sweet, that's in my circle. They go, oh, you're a speaker, can you come and talk to us about how psychology overlaps with finance and how these are the 8 things you want? And I'm like, oh shit, that's, mate, I can probably talk to that. But if I get too far out of that circle, or like, can you speak about rewiring this room and building a podcast studio? I'd be like, well, I've financed it, but I don't know how to build it. So if you stick to the things that you've actually done, life is a lot easier.
Totally. And though nothing grows in comfort. So sometimes you've got to stretch yourself into those zones to be able to realize that you can step into them, because if you always stay in the comfort, you're never really growing. And so you've got to know, yes, where your field of expertise lies, and you also want to be able to stretch those boundaries as much as you can, because so many people are experiencing anxiety these days, but we're fearful of it. And it's actually a great sign that you're growing and changing. It's not all bad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's the other term, the one that's going to come to is anxiety, where it's now like fashionable to tell someone, oh, I've got anxiety. Seriously? Like, do you? Or are you just nervous? Or is this just hard? Or it's unfamiliar?
Yeah. Anxiety, all it is that your brain cannot differentiate between perception and reality. So you get the experience that we call anxiety when you are perceiving a threat, not when they're a real threat, lion, tiger, perceived threat, judgment, whatever you see on social media. So the brain cannot tell the difference between the two, right? And so it's very important for people to know, if you keep firing the anxiety pathway, you're actually just training the brain, and it's just going to get worse.
You're just going to carry on doing more and more of that.
Until you create the awareness and break the pattern.
Yeah, you're not going to repair it, you're going to repeat it.
Totally.
Yeah.
You got it.
Even yesterday, I'm sitting on organising an event for Keep the Change, and I know it's going to be a big body of work, so I'm procrastinating, but I can self-coach myself and be like, you're going to have to do it. A couple of phone calls I had to make this week, and I'm like, okay, the faster I send the text, then they're going to ring me, so the conversation has to happen anyway. But I get into it and it's like, oh, here's a 30-page contract. Oh, you need public indemnity insurance. I'm like, there was a time in my life I didn't even know how to spell that, let alone, what that is. And I'm like, this is just, what about the caterers? And I'm talking to the person, I'm like, are there a couple of couches and a couple of microphones? And if we want to have some beers, we can. Like, yeah, but you'll need to do a contract. And the way I look at it is, all of this is just easy to put off because I haven't done it before. But then I look at myself and go, but I reckon you'll figure it out. And it's not actually that hard. It's just that it's not exciting to do it.
Yeah.
But I've had to teach myself to work through those types of things too. But very seldom do I then go, oh, I'm anxious about this. But the amount of times I see people saying that they're anxious about something, I'm like, what? Why are you wiring your brain that way? Yeah.
When we were kids, the word wasn't even around. Well, it's been really present in the last 10, 15 years. And it's something I help a lot of people with, because ultimately it can be retrained. I went from panic attacks to no longer experiencing anxiety. I used to have horrible panic attacks after mum and dad died. So I really know what it's like, and it's horrible when you're in those states, but you can retrain it. Obviously, as we've talked about, you are the creator of your reality. If you don't like something that you're experiencing, you have the power to change it. And one of the things I always say to people is that you are the problem and you are also the solution.
Yeah, take the power back.
Take the power back.
Yeah. Overthinking, what's all that about? Where's that coming from at the moment?
Overthinking is lack of action. You're looping on a thought.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you take action, you'll break the loop. And so overthinking If you're an overthinker listening to this, ask yourself, what action do I need to take? Because as soon as you take an action, you'll break the loop. Too many people are living in their heads and they're missing the point of life. Life is actually about being able to experience it, being able to feel, not just think your way through life. I see a lot of males doing this. They are thinking their way through life. I'm like, allow yourself to feel the emotions. Allow yourself to feel both the good and the bad, not just trying to logically think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even that event is a good example, right? So my brain keeps telling me about it, and then, I'm lucky that I've done enough work to get to the point where I'm like, take the action, dickhead, like, that this isn't going to get better. But funnily enough, and this is what I laugh about, then I take all the action, I make the phone call, because I'm like, oh, well, I need the date, but if, what happens if I can't get that date? What date what if people don't show up on that date? I'm like, just pick a date and get it done. Anyway, I pick the date, get it done, make the phone call and stuff. They're like, oh no, someone's already got the venue booked in. I'm like, damn it. Like, all of this overthinking. Now I'm like, okay, I need to move even faster to solve, because what I was thinking was going to happen isn't going to happen anyway. So, but maybe if I rang when I first started thinking about it, because I was still going to have to ring at some stage anyway.
Took the action earlier.
Yeah. So on the call, they were like to me, well, we've got to give this person 3 days notice to, basically sign a contract to have the venue. And so they're like, do you want to go away and think about it and come back, and we can send them a note and say, hey, somebody else wants it. And my brain went to like, I'm like, no, send me the contract, let's roll.
Right,
I'm like, I'm going to do it. Like, why do I need to get off the phone and think about it and email them tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's start the clock on 3 days for them, put them under pressure. Hopefully they've been there, penciled booking, and we can lock it in and I can carry on with my plan A. Otherwise, I'm going to need a plan B.
Yeah, it's so true. The thing as well with overthinking is that people need to realise there is actually a difference between thinking and overthinking.
Okay.
So thinking's all good. It's
Yeah.
when you are actually in momentum and you're moving towards something, thinking. When you're overthinking, you're looping on the same thought over and over again without solution. So I think you genuinely think a lot. And then you do notice when you're in a loop, because it's the loop that's the overthinking, but you're often pre-planning, trying to get something sorted.
I break the loop, and this is what I do. I notice it, and then I tell my brain, I'm like, fuck up, bro.
Oh, there's the ego.
yeah. I'm like, stop. And then what I do, because I can notice, I'm like, I keep thinking about that. I'm like, there's no point to keep thinking about that. So then I say to myself, I'm like, big goals, you're going to achieve things. I start thinking about things that are positive. And so I basically say to my brain, like, stop. Okay, stop. We've thought about that enough. Let's think about some of these things. And that's been really helpful for me. I don't know if there's any science to that.
You are doing the work. It is simple. Retraining the brain is not a complex thing. It's incredibly simple. Simple and easy are not the same thing. And we work on the path of least resistance. We're lazy beings. And the reason that our brains are fundamentally lazy is because we're always trying to conserve energy. And so people revert back to their default wiring because the brain is lazy. If you keep firing the brain down the other way like you have, you've ultimately just retrained your brain without even realizing you're doing it.
Nice. I've probably still got some training to do. But when I go to bed, like, that's when my thinking starts, right? And I have had to say, like, stop now, like, we've got to recover. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll say to it, hey, can you remind me about this tomorrow? Or could you just solve it whilst we're sleeping? And say, I'm like, you get to work. Why do I need to be awake to solve this?
You're doing the work, Luke.
Yeah, I'm out here trying.
Yeah, you really are doing a lot of what I coach and teach. It's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it I just picked up from, studying other people. It's actually reflecting on this in the gym this morning. It would be very bad for me to be unsuccessful with the amount of access that I get to speak to successful people every week. Like, people would probably look from the outside and go, what are you doing? And it just thought of like a random thought. The more I spend time with successful people and learn from them, I'm building more and more data that makes it even harder for me to fail.
100%.
And the lesson there being, surround yourself with the right people. Like, we can all do this, but we can also do this with podcasts and coaching and stuff, right? It's never been more accessible. But what I see people doing is just, 5 podcasts a week. Where's the action?
Totally. And that's the thing, is like, knowledge isn't power, the application of it is. I'll have periods of time where I'm consuming and periods of time where I'm integrating. So there'll be seasons throughout the year. It's like, you can read all the books, but if you're not taking the golden nugget from that book and actually applying it, it really doesn't matter what you've read or what you've listened to. So for me, I've got that real awareness to go, I'm in a learning phase or I'm in an integration phase. And at the moment, I'm in an integration phase. I'm actually reading books, re-listening to podcasts,
Nice.
rather than always consuming new things and then applying none of it.
Most Kiwi don't have a financial plan, they have a she'll be right mate attitude. Amy from Leverage is helping KTC listeners change that. If you're needing direction, clarity, or wondering what your next financial move should be, then book a call with Amy or download her free DIY financial plan to freedom. To do that, visit financialplan.co.nz.
Went for some brunch this morning and I was thinking of a couple, and then I finished my brunch, I opened my phone, and in a group chat with that couple, they had messaged me. I haven't heard from them for maybe a couple of weeks. What is that?
Ooh, big spiritual question. What do you think it is?
I reckon I'm on a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Quantum.
cool with that. Yeah.
Do you know much about the quantum?
A little bit, not heaps.
Yeah. I mean, it's all a frequency, right? People think we work in a currency of time and money. We actually work in a currency of energy, and you probably know money is just a form of energy. And so when you work in frequencies, you are always vibrating at a certain level. You're obviously vibrating at a certain level, and then like is attracting like.
I have it all the time. Like, it's not a one-off. When you were just giving your answer before, I was just reading through this next question, and I was literally at the word season, and you said season. I said to my business partner the other day, I'm like, mate, I've just noticed that Mondays are busier in the inbox, and I've started wondering what's going on. It didn't used to be like that. Clients seem to come back from the weekend and they've got questions and stuff. And he's like, I was literally thinking about this like 3 days, all the time. Him and I are just, I'll go to say something, and now sometimes he'll interrupt me and be like, you're going to say this. I'm like, 100%. Or there might be like a vibe of a client or someone we haven't heard from for a bit, and then they'll message me. But I do think that part of it is that I think a lot, so then it might happen, and I go, and it's actually just at front of mind or reticular activator system, like, oh, okay. But I've probably actually thought of them maybe 5 times, and then in that moment they have messaged, maybe.
It's all about your thoughts being a frequency. Have you ever heard of Bob Proctor? He always says, if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And it's this whole concept of, manifestation and frequency. And it sounds like you're vibrating on a real high level, which is always so exciting because things you're like, exactly, it's just popping up right there, and it can feel very serendipitous.
Yeah, it's a crazy feeling. Like, it's, to achieve things that you could once see and like think about and like play through meetings and be like, this is how this is going to play out and stuff. And it to go like that, you're like, oh shit, it's a pretty hard feeling to beat.
Totally. I didn't think I was coming on this podcast to talk woo-woo, but I'm loving it.
Sorry, team. Okay, I was going to say, what would you say to someone going through a hard season right now who can't yet see that purpose on the other hand? So they are like stuck in the season but can't quite see that maybe this is teaching them something and helping them.
If you're in a really bad place, in a dark hole, the key to getting out of there is 1 day at a time, 1 hour, 1 minute. And that's how I got out of the hole, is I focused on the now and being present. What you want to do is focus on the micro actions. What is the one thing that you can do today that is going to give you energy? As I said before, we've always got things that are either giving us energy or taking from us. And if you are in a hard place, you've got to start asking yourself those bigger questions of, well, how did I get here, and how do I begin to take different actions? If you're in a space and you want to accelerate, definitely hire a coach or someone to help you. The best investment I've ever made, Luke, is the one in myself. And it's been a really powerful journey. I wouldn't want to know where I would be if I didn't invest in coaches. Like, I actually don't want to know where I'd be, and it definitely wouldn't be here.
Yeah, it's a good thing to think about, actually, for a bit of because sometimes doing the work sucks and it is hard, but it's easy to forget where you could be. Like, I've definitely have a few times in life where I look back and think, shit, my life could be a lot different. And sometimes I think, okay, I need to make the most of the opportunity I do now have, because my path could have been very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I was reading about, I don't want to get into the specifics to give away the story, but like just somebody who's like done for drink driving recently. And it actually, from the surface of it, looked like relatively innocent. And, like the day after and stuff, I'm like, whoa, their life is, and I was talking to Taz about it, my partner, I was like, man, that could have been like any number of heaps of our mates.
Yeah.
And their life and their journey is going to be very different, like if they can't harness that and turn it around.
And the power comes in when you start asking yourself, well, what was the lessons, learnings, and insights from that? And if you don't gather the resources and you at the end of the day, made the choice to do that, and you've got to take ownership for that and take responsibility, what part of the equations you want to see it. But if you don't take the lessons and the learnings from your experiences of the past, you keep pulling the past into the present and you taint the present. So how I've really helped myself is asking myself the questions, because the questions are the answers. Like, what did I learn from that, Sarah? What did your father being an alcoholic teach you about life? What did it teach you about yourself? Having 2 dead parents, what does that teach you about you? What does it and so you're always starting to learn and gather that wisdom and those resources.
Well, the questions are the answers. Where are you going? Like, where are you taking this?
Oh.
Who are you becoming?
Who am I becoming? Well, I'd love to see where I am in 10 years' time. I mean, I know. Hopefully a global presence is really where I want to take this to.
You're already there, so we're thinking too small?
Wow, what's bigger than global? Quantum?
Maybe you can go to Mars with Elon or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
I see myself on international stages. I see myself really, having a global impact at a bigger scale than what I am right now. It's so exciting. Part of the process I've really learned, though, is like we focus so much on the destination. I'm not there yet. I'm not where I want to be. And in the last year or so, I've really started enjoying the journey. And one of my thoughts that I had as I was walking down here, and the same thought before the keynote yesterday, is have fun, Sarah. Just enjoy yourself. Drop the expectations. Drop what you think the podcast should be like, and have fun.
Well, has the podcast been like what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to go woo-woo, but I love it.
Yeah, nice. No, I talk to business owners about this all the time of, stop, look back, reflect where you've come from, progress, journey. Like that's winning. That is doing the doing. This is the exciting bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Focus on celebrating the wins. So many people are just goalpost shifting. The carrot's always moving. You've really got to celebrate the wins along the journey. And I say to clients that the small wins are the big wins.
Yeah.
And all of those small wins stack up. And so if you're somebody who struggles to celebrate your wins, start there. Like, it's so important.
Yeah, it's good for the brain too, right?
It is, because it's retraining it.
Yeah.
And that's, as I said, it's simple and easy aren't the same thing.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to talk about, or anything that you come across all the time where we could talk about that would add a lot of value to people's lives?
I think if, speaking a little bit into perhaps obviously around the finances stuff, how, a lot of people have inheritances and how to work through that emotionally. Like for me, when both your parents die and you get an inheritance young, and a lot of people do find themselves in some challenging positions with inheritances, what to do and how to manage it, has just been quite an interesting journey from that financial perspective for me, which may be of interest to some of your listeners.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get into it.
So I guess for me, after Mum and Dad died, their probate came through, then you get multi-six figures dropped in your bank account as a 26-year-old.
Yeah, we've done some bad shit.
Yeah, but you're in such a dark place. And so you don't see it as money. It just landed there, and I just then started making really poor choices for a little while. And I remember, going to this financial advisor, because one of my friends was like, just go to a financial advisor. And nothing against financial advisors. If you are listening and you're a financial advisor, maybe this will help you. The first question I was asked was, well, where do you want to be in 5 years? And when you're just lost your parents, I can't see through the day, let alone the week. And you want me to think about 5 years or a year from now? That was probably, part of my journey that's been very challenging, is people don't understand that when you're in deep grief, you are in the clouds. You're not even here. So I've found that journey just with money really interesting, and maybe you have some questions that might benefit some of your listeners from this conversation.
Yeah, I suppose that financial advisor is probably applying the right framework to the wrong situation, right? You know, like you almost need to be the money taken off you and let you work through your grief and have the money help fund that part of it to then get back to neutrality.
Yeah.
To then work out, okay, yeah, where do I want to be?
And for me, it was just such a confronting question, a really challenging time. And he could have asked the question later down the track, but he obviously hadn't read the room very well. And I just wanted to say, if anyone is listening to this and gets inheritance or has been through their grief journey, like, it is really challenging because I didn't want the money. I wanted my mum. And so your relationship with money becomes incredibly challenging because you don't want it. So you just, what do you do when you don't want something? You want to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, similar for people who go around saying, learning from people like, rich people are assholes, money's evil, people are greedy. I was saying to some students yesterday, I was like, if you're getting wired with that, trust me, the action is going to be, well, I better not get any.
Yeah.
I better let it all go.
Yeah.
So have you done a stack of work in that finance space to tidy up some of that?
100%. Needed to tidy up all of those limiting beliefs that came down through my parents. Money's hard to get. There's not enough of it. And so I started really doing that money mindset work. And one of the smartest, after I'd burnt a bit of cash.
How much cash are we talking about?
Oh, well.
Plenty.
Enough that a lot of people would be like, oh, I could have done so much with that. And you weren't in my shoes, or, you haven't experienced what it's like. Well, some of you listening will have, but when you see those numbers in your account and you don't want it, you'll spend it on anything. And you kind of can't judge someone until you've been in that position yourself. The best thing I did do is I ended up just locking it away in the bank for a bit while I got myself in a better frame of mind, and then I put some investment back into a coach. And honestly, as I said before, best investment I've made was going on that journey and doing that internal work, and then starting to learn about money from there, and everything just got better as I started to invest in myself.
Did you have, any moments, I hear people talking about how they might inherit money or money comes easily, and then they don't feel worthy of it. So they're almost like angry that they've got it, and they don't like looking at it or addressing it because they didn't create it or earn it.
Oh, it took me years. I will always say, I said for ages, it's mum and dad's money, and I never associated with it as my money for a long time. So absolutely, I felt like that. It's been a real journey working with money and finances and starting to understand it. For me, I think for anyone listening to this podcast, if you are in that hard position, lock it away for a little bit of time to give yourself that peace of mind if you can't make wise decisions. And there was a period of time where I was making stupid decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's no different to when people win lotto. That's some of the same advice is, okay, like your emotions just went woof, and now we've got to get you back to neutral and go, okay, what will we do? We don't need to make all the decisions right now.
Yeah.
And some of the sage advice I've seen is basically they encourage them to basically like put it aside and go, okay, like let's work through how different your life could be, not just go out there and completely make life different.
Yeah.
And we see it with people selling a business, coming into money, or even, you go to uni, oh, what? $2,000 overdraft, interest free. Sweet, okay. You don't have a good relationship with it or understand it, I mean, it will end up at the empty vessel slots or whatever local bar is opening your environment.
Yeah, the interesting thing with money too is then it comes jealousy, and I had people jealous, and I found that a real complex thing to work through because they were, they knew that I had an inheritance or had money in my bank account, and as it almost came across as they were jealous, but also I had just lost both my parents.
Yeah. Do you want to swap?
Do you want to swap?
Didn't think so. Yeah.
So I found that interesting.
And what about the pressure of shit, like this was mum and dad's money, say, I better not bugger this up. And then if you do rinse some of it, then you're double buggered because you've got, I better not fail with it. But then if you do, then it's like, oh, I've wasted it. Must be confusing.
Very confusing. And I feel like I've been on the right journey. I needed to blow a little bit of it to get that wake-up call. And to, it was a coping strategy for a little bit. I don't regret anything I did. If I would make better decisions? Yeah, sure. But it is what it is. And I learned from it, and now I've made better decisions, which has really helped me with the financial position that I am now. I've got a great financial advisor. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about money. And as you know, money is just an energy.
Yeah, tool, nothing
Just a
more.
tool.
Have you found it interesting too, then getting out of a finance world or way of being, like a lot of people live to create money to then live to create money to blah, 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 right? And it'll better build it up. You've got into the impact world where it's a different form of currency where you're trying to help people, help them have a better life, etc. And then money just starts coming anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Has that been confusing?
It has. And also, though, as you said before, money is just a tool. It's a resource to keep expanding. And that's what I'm in that phase of at the moment, is in that real scaling phase, in that real growth phase. And it's exciting. And knowing that the more you generate, the more impact you can have. And I'm enjoying the process of scaling. A lot of people get a bit stressed about it, but it's been a good learning curve.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I often think about, like, with the work that I want to do or where I invest, I think, okay, will this scale impact? And if it will, then it's probably a good decision to invest money into it. For me, it could be a videographer. It could be paying for somebody's flights to come and shadow me at a keynote, to then record that, to then put that out, because it might then help people. That person that gets help might like me, they might listen to the podcast, they might then suggest me for another keynote. So I can see financially that it makes sense. But the ultimate output is impact and scaling that impact.
Yeah, and that purpose-driven work is, with the work you do and the work I do, is like showing up every day with your purpose and your mission and the impact you have. Like, I see the messages that you get from people. Like, every time you get one of those messages from somebody who's listened to your podcast, you must just get that feeling of like, how cool's that?
Oh yeah, you can't be. It's better than any invoice that you can send as well, right?
Totally. I get those messages as well from clients.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of the impact that I'm having, and it means so much more than the paycheck. So,
Yeah, it's an interesting, you get to get both, you get to feel both of it, right? You get to earn good money, but then you get to earn people's trust and help them in their life, and you get to get paid in both currencies. Like, a lot of people only get to get paid in the swap hard work for that currency. And you might get a bonus or a card every now and then, and hey, we're really grateful for that. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, to have what's the word, like I guess the reference point of both of those is pretty special that not everybody gets.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll stack all my testimonials and things people say about the work I do, and then on hard days I'll have a good look through and really lift the energy, because same as the messages you've got, it's really beautiful to see the impact that you're having in people's lives.
What's quite funny is, like, when it keeps happening, like, sometimes people will email me now and they're like, you don't have to reply, I know you get heaps of these. And I'm like, oh, but I feel like I'm just not responding to them. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is a great email. So because that's literally what I'm thinking when I read it.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing. If I get a thank you, like a physical, I normally stack it all into the back of this folder, and it's just like building up over years.
Yeah.
And I don't often like go back to it, but it's almost like that's, some people would put money into a bank account. I take that and I'm like, boom, I've stacked another one, or it might be the keynote, lanyard with the thing. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Because I'll get to look back and, sometimes I wrote, it's like, this is the first one, like this is the first one at this price or whatever. Because it's very easy for life to get so busy and to just get bombarded with all sorts of other shit that you can forget how special those moments were at time.
And how far you've come.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all about the journey, right?
100%, making progress. Hey, that has been so much fun. I hope that people got a lot out of this. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can get in touch with me, Instagram, springwithsarah, or my website, www.springwithsarah.com. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's been an absolute privilege. Hopefully they've taken something away. Just before we wrap up, I just wanted to say again, like, you are the creator of your life, and you've got the power within your hands. You always have. You just got to start making different choices. Different choices lead to different outcomes.
Are there any corporates out there that might be listening? What is the keynote that you typically deliver on, and have you got capacity for some of that around the country and internationally as well?
Oh, internationally and in the country. Yes, I do have capacity. I do a lot of different keynotes around some of the things we've been talking on today. Choice, a lot around unlocking the mind, subconscious, resilience, So I do have a few different keynotes, the ones I've been running up here around mindset and resilience. So yeah, more than would love to hear from you. It's really cool to be here today and to chat to you, Luke.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully someone international gets in
Gets
touch.
hold of this.
Yeah. And then, we can maybe get them on the pod too, or do a follow-up and find out how it went. But I'm sure you'll make it happen, and I'm sure I'll see you, around the country doing some speaking at some stage as well. So thank you for your time today. I will link all of your links and stuff into the show notes. So if people do want to get in touch with Sarah, then they can do that. Keep doing great work out there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.